Hi and welcome to this time-lapse tutorial of how to draw a yellow Labrador in soft pastels. So as I quite often do, I've gone in and I've started to do the eye first. And I've said this in many tutorials, but it's worth reiterating. The reason I do this is to open up the sort of the eyes of the soul of the animal. And it gives us something to work out from so that we've got a finished element, something that looks good, so that when we carry on to do the rest of the portrait, we've got something that looks finished. As you'll see when we start to do the base layers, they don't look quite right for a while. You get what artists call the ugly stage, and you don't want to be staring at simply just ugly stage everywhere. So I've gone in and I've started to map out the colours I'm going to use with the Unison Soft Pastels, and I've used the Natural Earth range here. I quite often use that range. It's gorgeous sort of browns, earthy tones in there. And as you can see, the colours look extreme, but it is just the point of getting in that sort of that direction of what's happening with the fur, the sort of colours that are there, creating the light and giving us something to work on top of with the pastel pencils. So I've then gone in with the pastel pencils and I've started to create the direction of fur. So with the soft pastels, with the base there, you're just creating a sort of a soft layer that gives you that colour, that guide, your lights, your darks, and gives you something to work on top of. And then when you start to go in with the pencils, that's when you're starting to get in some element of detail, and you're moving up through your colours to get in those gorgeous highlights at the end, which is what we're starting to see now. And when you start to get those brighter colours in, that's when the portrait really starts to pop off of the page. So you've got to stay patient and get yourself to the point where you've got that lovely colour coming through at the end. And the thing about Labrador portraits is they've got lovely soft fur. So you really want to be conveying that softness, but they don't have, long curls. So it's a different sort of softness to something like a spaniel or a cockapoo. So I'm doing little tiny markings so you can see soft tiny markings overlapping, interlocking each other. And you don't want it to be just straight lines going in one direction. You will have seen when I did the top of her face there that it's little bumps sort of moving over each other because what you're creating is the anatomy of her face. And if you look at a Labrador, it's not just completely flat. So you're trying to create the texture of what you would see if this dog was sat in front of you in real life. So I've then gone in and done the ears in the same way. I've put in the Unison Soft Pastels in the base layer, and I've gone in with really vibrant sort of reds, oranges, that sort of burnt orange kind of colour. And I've done them slightly brighter than the reference photo, so really, really red, because I had some other reference photos I used to draw her. And in the other photos, her ears were more prominently that sort of that real red tone. So quite often when you're doing pet portraits, you want to ask for more than one reference photo. You want several so that you can get a real look and feel for what the dog feels like. You can learn about their personality, but you can also see all of their colorings more accurately, seeing how they look in different lights. And you will get to a point where you learn what the sort of the correct colors are. But it is worth, if you're not sure, just going back to your customer and just saying, which one is the most accurate, which one does the dog look the most like, because you can't always tell, and it is better to check than to do it wrong and then have to change it later. With this portrait, I did end up having to go back over some of the redder parts in her face and tone them down a little bit. I'd used more of the red tones from the other photos, and it turned out that her owner didn't think that, she was quite as red in those places, so I ended up having to knock it back to more of the golden tones. So then as I've moved across to the other side in the face, I've gone in to do the other eye. And again, it's for the same reason. It's just to get that sort of eye of the soul so I can see her looking out at me and I can see sort of how accurately it's going, because that is your point of reference. The eyes are something that draw you in and you can work out from to do the rest of the face. And you can also use them as a reference point when drawing to make sure that, the different parts of your picture line up to where they should be. So this again is the soft pastel layer. So I've gone in and I've created that sort of that base to work on. And you can see it's a lot lighter on this side of her face. So I've used less of the sort of the dark browns, more of the lighter colors to really bring those light tones out at the end of the portrait. And then I'm just building up those sort of ochre and golden and saffron colors just to create that lovely soft fur. Again, it's lots of light, soft movements and little short lines just to create that soft fur, but, obviously not make her hair look longer than it is. So I hope this has been helpful. Please do check out my Patreon channel if you'd like to draw along in real time. and I will release part 2 of the time lapse next week. So please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. It really helps my channel. Thanks, guys. Bye.